What's up, guys? Stoked for this real deal episode today with the one and only Alex Mashburn. What's up, Alex?
Well, what's up, man? How are you?
Good, dude. I'm excited to do this. Alex is a stud. Him and I have been talking real estate for the last handful of years. I
Yeah,
think you're one of the first ones to buy a program that I put out. It's been a couple years, right?
yeah, yeah. It's been, I think, 2 years now, 2.5 years.
It's awesome.
So
Yeah, so I feel lucky because I've been able to kind of just see your journey through this whole process. Because I think at that time, I can't remember if you owned the house you were living in or you didn't own any houses at all.
yeah,
Did you own any at
yeah.
first?
We owned the one that we first that my wife and I were living in. We had been in there for a couple of months, but knew that at the year mark we wanted to rent it out and kind of
Cool.
move and house hack it, but just had no idea. I was just over here DMing Brody, praying and hoping he'd answer me 2, 3 months later. You know how it goes. So
Hey, dude, we got it all figured out, and look at you
I
now,
know.
just
Yeah.
crushing it, and you're working with us within real estate investing school, which is super fun. But it's been cool to because I think there's two different types of people. There's one that's like, hey, I kind of want to get into real estate. It sounds cool. I like it. I want the benefits of it.
Right.
I have a house right now. I'm going to turn this one to an investment. And then there's the other side of it where you actually like double down and you're like, hey, this is the path to my early retirement. I'm going to go all in on this thing. And that's what you've done. And like you've kind of gone step by step, doing a lot of the same exact things that I've done, which maybe I'm biased, but like I think it's a great way to go because
Yeah.
you're going to dive into a deal you've done. And the reason I say that, and I'm joking, there's a lot of different ways to do real estate, but the way I've done a lot of it is I haven't had to wait for my bank account to fill up really, really high before I was able to dive in. And so you've used a lot of these no and low money down strategies to invest and get started and build wealth inside real estate investing. And so today we're going to dive into one of those deals. It's actually more of a recent one you did, right? Just a couple months ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a couple months ago.
Cool. Give us an overview of it really quick, what it is, and then we'll just dive into how you found it, how you funded it, and how you forced it and turned it into a good deal.
Yeah, sounds good. So it's a deal that we have a few other properties nearby. And so I mean that's something that I think it's good to get out of state and then stay in the same area that you've already been doing other deals. But it is nice to be able to like, hey, like running the numbers already from this other property right next to it. So I kind of have a good gauge of kind of like, exactly what it's going to be because this one is an Airbnb and it can be unpredictable when you do Airbnbs. So um I kind of looked for this one. I had an eye on it for a while just because it's a little bit more unique. It's got like an 1100 square foot patio right by the canyon into next to these national parks. So just kind of you try to keep everything more emotional. I mean logical in real estate investing, but there are a few things that especially my wife has an eye for things that are emotional because that's people book an Airbnb emotionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. So it's an Airbnb single family house.
yeah. Mhm.
Cool, awesome. So maybe tell us how you found it and how you funded it. Like ultimately with how you found it as well. Like why did you pull the trigger on it? Was it because it was close to the canyon, or what was it about it that made you actually feel like, oh, this could be a good deal?
Yeah. So I found it on Zillow. Honestly, like a lot of people are like, oh, off market, and those are all great. And I think that there's going to be kind of like Brandon was saying, there's so many deals out there. People don't know how much equity they have. But the last couple I've gotten just been on Zillow, just because there's not a ton of buyers. I talked to an agent yesterday, and he said that he's done more deals this year than he did last year so far. So people are
Wow.
still buying, but yeah, just on Zillow and I think the big patio is the main thing. They also it's a brand new kitchen, never used, and same with the floor, and a few things like that. They were doing a lot of renovations. They kind of just I think they just needed the money and they got in a tough spot. And so they didn't run the numbers correctly. So they were too deep into it and they had to sell it. I think it's kind of what happened. Um, but yeah, mostly just because we had an Airbnb nearby, and this one's uh, bigger and more unique, and right by the canyon. So
Yeah.
needed a lot of love. This is kind of one of the first ones we've done that needed a lot of love. So there's a lot of learning in that.
Yeah. Yeah. You got your hands dirty. I saw that. That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said there too, of just like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because the best indicator of the future is the past, right? And so it's the same thing with like building my tiny home resort. I had a, a condo that I'd been renting out that was roughly the same. It actually spurred the idea of, how do I mass produce this 1 bedroom, 1 bath condo? Cause the numbers are working out so well on it. How can I get 10, 20, 30 of them? And that led to the tiny home resort idea. But it's nice knowing like I have 5 years of data, like I've been renting this out on Airbnb for 5 years. So I've seen how it performs in the winter. I've seen how it performs in the summer. I've seen like, what you're getting yourself into. And it sounds like that was
Yeah.
a big advantage that you maybe had over other people in buying this. Is that right?
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Cool. So the way you funded it is really cool, because, and this is where, and the reason we talk about how did you find it, fund it, force it, is there's so many different ways to go and create a good deal. And I love that you touched on like, hey, there's nothing special about this aside from like, I found it on Zillow. Anybody could have went and found this property. Yeah, I had a little bit of an insight of the market and how it's performing in this area, but it's just a house that needed some love. Yeah, it had a nicer kitchen, but doesn't sound like anything about it like you just struck gold by like being the first one to see it, or something like that. And I think a lot of people get this vibe of, hey, there's no deals in the market right now. I mean, I talked to
Oh, for
somebody
sure.
yesterday. It's like there's just no deals. And this is something that you and I see eye to eye with, and this is what you've done a really good job of like diving into and grasping and understanding, is going out and creating that good deal. And it might not be the way you find it, but it can be the way that you fund it or the way that you force it. And so maybe talk on that a little bit and what you did to make this deal awesome, and then go over the numbers a little bit for us.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing is, I mean, I think it was one of your first videos on like that first thing I bought. You were like, I think it was you and Andrea. You guys were like, there's always a way to make it work. Like, like if you know the numbers for the area, you know what it is, like there's going to be a way to make it work and make it happen. And so I think that stuck with me a lot, especially with this one. So pretty much interest rate is going to be, it was, I actually, it fell through with my first partner. I don't think that's something that, actually. So the first partner I had, I showed him how to get a HELOC, their home. Um, he took $250,000 in a HELOC, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it," and only 10% down. So a lot of people don't know this, but I learned this from the real estate investing school. It's like there's an amazing 10% down, no mortgage insurance, investment property loan, Mountain America Credit Union does. There's a ton of other companies that do that. Basically, you're just buying out the PMI, you're just buying out the mortgage insurance. But right now is an amazing opportunity for sellers to buy it for you, right? I mean, they're paying your closing costs right now for you since there's not a lot of buyers. And so I kind of took advantage of that one, and was able to bring this deal that was originally listed for like almost $400,000 down to like 325 down. So we ended up getting it for 315 and had them pay all 10 grand in closing costs, right? I think it was
Cool.
11. So that was the main first step, is like, how can we, get the least amount of money down so we can use a lot of, maybe a little bit more of our funds to go and do some renovations on this thing. Cause tell you what, it looked ugly. It still looks so ugly on the outside, and they'd redone a ton of stuff on the inside. So I think that's the main thing, is like the first Zillow picture was like the outside, it was horrendous. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of people just skip over it was, emotionally, like outside.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, it's true. So
So to kind of break it down, so one thing you did right off the bat, the way you funded it was you, instead of doing your traditional 20-25% down investment loan that most people do, you were able to leverage your cash a little bit better because you went and found a special product that a bank offered where it was only 10% down. So the cool thing about that is you're leveraging your money better. You could essentially get two of the same exact houses, right? With the same 20% down payment that a normal bank might charge you. But instead, because of this loan product they have, you can buy two different homes that both cash flow, that both are paying, someone else is paying down, the loan on it, that both of them you get tax benefits. And so, there's all these different things that's so cool about the reason you did that. Not to mention, you usually get a higher cash on cash return, right? Because
yeah.
cash that went in was smaller. So that's one thing that you did. Super cool. The other thing that you did, you mentioned you found a partner. Can you dive into that? Like, what was that like? Is this your first time you partnered with somebody? How did you structure that? Why did you partner? Was it just because of the cash? How did you guys, structure that partnership?
Yeah. Yeah, partnership was I mean, it was kind of tough for me at first because I was like, I just want to do everything by my own. I don't want, I want to learn it all on my own. I want to just do it all. I think what I realized was like that, you kind of always want to like be bettering yourself, but also if you can help others along the way, then great. So since all I've been doing is like, you know, learning about real estate for the last 2 years and just trying to dive into it just because I know what the future could hold with it.
Yeah.
I think I realized that there's so many people that don't realize that all the money they have it invested. If it's invested in your bank account, it's losing value every year because inflation, a few other things. They're giving you what 0.001%. And same with stocks. You give it to a stockbroker, and guess what? Like they're going to give you, you're going to make 6-10% average, but like they're making another 20-30% on that. Like you don't even realize it. You know what I mean? So, and banks are using your money to go make money. So I think I realized that like if I can kind of be that middleman of like with real estate where there's four different ways you make money, if I can help somebody else take their money from a liability, put it into a real asset that makes them money, they get tax deductions off of it, and it's probably going to go up in value. I'm not counting on it, right? It's cake if it does, but like I'm counting on the cash flow. And then finding a deal that does no less than like 40% cash on cash return, then I know they're going to get at least 20%. I'm going to get at least 20%. And it's a huge win for everybody, right? And so I'm not telling them to give up any of their money. I'm just telling them to move it into a real asset that makes them money. And so I think if they kind of have once I started sending, like I asked, like I think you told me to make a list of people that like would possibly want to partner. And
Mhm.
so I did, and I was like, maybe they have some cash that they want to make money with. And I haven't got one person that said they don't want me to send them deals. Like everybody wants you to send them deals, right? Everybody wants to do real estate, but only like 10 or 20% of people might actually end up pulling the trigger someday, right?
Yeah.
And so what I did is after that, like I got one or two people that are super like ready to start doing it. And like I
How
said,
did
that first
you,
one,
I think a lot of people don't know this, but how did you, when you reached out to those people, how did you phrase it? Because you didn't have a deal at the time, probably when you reached out to them, or
I
you
did.
did.
I just had the one townhome that was being that we Airbnb.
I
Yeah.
mean, you didn't. Did you have a deal saying like, "Hey, this is ready to be invested in. I need this much money,"
Oh,
or you were
no,
just
no.
like, you're just basically finding out if they're serious about investing with you or not?
Yeah, yeah, just, they might be at a point in their life where they're like, "Oh, man, I kinda do wanna design my own life. I kinda do wanna get a little more freedom, work a little bit less hours." I've seen that. I mean, my dad, to be honest, like, I mean, I haven't done anything with him, and I probably won't. But, like, he has been working 12 hours a day for the last 25 years at UPS, makes great money, but still is paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, I bet there's other people out there with extra money that want to, kind of get out of that hole a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would just
What
send
did
him a
you say to
text.
them when you reached out? What did the
Yeah.
text say?
Yeah. So I sent a text and it basically say like, hey, I've just been diving into real estate investing a ton. I'm not an agent or anything. Um, but I, I've had this one deal go, I have a couple deals in the works. Would you ever want me to send you any? That's pretty much it.
Mm.
And then, yeah, like I said, I haven't got anybody to say no. And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. Right. And so, I just keep sending deals. People would ask questions. Realized a few of them I was wasting my time a little bit. They just, maybe I could tell maybe they just want to do it on their own, or that's totally fine. Like
Yeah.
more to you. Um, yeah. So and then they one or two of them would, finally pull through. So
And then you find out how serious they are, and then you're like, cool, we'll partner on this. And then you just break down what that looks like from a
yeah, I
partnership.
mean there's so much money out there that that people don't, they not only do they not know what to do with, but like there's so much money out there that they're just so busy in their job, their day-to-day job, that they can't do anything else really.
Yeah.
They don't have the knowledge to do anything else. So yeah, I once I send them a deal and I say, hey, I got a few other people that are looking at this deal, because I do, because I'm sending them to multiple people. Um, you know, it, I'll send you the numbers. Here's the numbers. Would you, do you think this is something you want to pull the trigger on, or I'll just catch you on the next one? And I get a lot of, catch me on the next one here and there, but oh, like, okay, what's the next steps? And it's just like the easiest thing ever, because um, they don't have time. You don't know what you don't know, and here's somebody that like, this is all I do, and I love it, and I have a passion for it because of what I've been able to see it do for me.
I love this because it's something to talk about a lot. Like once you've learned the skill set, you now have this skill set that a lot of other people don't have. Like you've invested in yourself to learn this and figure this out. And the cool thing, we say it a lot, like the triangle of real estate investing, you only need two out of the three, right? As far as education, hustle, and money, like you need two of them to be successful. And if you have the education and the hustle, which is what you're talking about right now, you don't need to go and figure out the money piece. Somebody else is going to put the money in. And so that's just a cool thing of like, hey, I'm diving in. I'm going to learn real estate investing. I'm going to be really good at it. Learn how to recognize a deal. I think the fact that you said 40% cash on cash return, people are like, what? No, that doesn't exist. Where do you find that? Right. But you know how to go find that or go create that because you've dove in, you've learned all these things. And so
All right.
having
Yeah.
that skill set's so cool because now you don't need money. I don't know the answer to this question or what you did. I know what I would have done as far as structuring your partnership. How much money did you put in? How much money did they put in? How are you splitting this property specifically? How are you splitting the cash flow? Do they have the same roles as you? Like, what does that look like? And you mentioned some
Yeah.
rehab. So who put the money in for the rehab?
Yeah. Great question. So this is what I'm still learning, right? I think I'm at like 1% of everything I want to learn. So like there's so many more things that I'm just going to continue to grow and learn over the next 5, 10 years and just grind. But the one thing, yeah, with the partnerships, this one is structured. It's 50-50 on equity and on cash flow. The equity, like the down payment that he put in, which is 30 grand, we don't split that. He just keeps that. He moved it from his bank. It's his asset. He moved it into, this asset that's
So
going to
he
make
so
him
he
money.
put
Right.
100% of the down payment.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And then as far as like, so this is where it gets interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of someone that does this before. So, um, my roles are pretty much everything, right? I say, hey, you can be as involved in as you want with, some of the renovations. He probably put probably 10 grand into renovations for us, right? Um, but um, my roles are pretty much do everything, right? So he's putting the money in. I'm pretty much just doing everything else. I'm getting the business license for the property. I'm getting getting it set up on Airbnb. I'm already a super host on there, so my the properties I put together kind of get listed up top, a little bit higher. Um, I'm honestly, I was painting with my wife. Like we were just like, we're just gonna do it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so just trying to do all that stuff. And then something that I learned to get a huge cash on cash return is actually solar. Like just because you're gonna pay an electric bill anyway. And so if you can just swap it with power that you know you're gonna have it paid off someday and somebody else is paying that off for you, right? Your tenants and
Mhm.
whatever. But it's essentially it's a home improvement loan, right? And so you're allowed to throw different things in there. So I don't do it like it's not on my credit. I have my partner do it, right? And so it's zero down. So I'm like, it's zero down, but we're gonna do all these improvements for the house. They're like, okay, cool. So they're on the credit, they're getting the solar, but in there we have um electrical work. The whole thing needed a lot of it needed some pretty dangerous, honestly. So 7 grand, and they were paying, you know, it was just like it was in the solar, it was in the solar improvement loan, new roof, insurance wouldn't cover it for more than 60 days unless we got a new roof on there. So and I knew that before the deal. Like all these things I knew before the deal with the inspection and stuff, right? So new roof, new gutters, electrical, and then we needed to replace the railing around the outside. So like almost all of those we were able to put in this home improvement loan with solar, right? And that bill every month is a little bit higher than what the electric bill normally would have been. And so it's like 2-3% interest, super low, right?
Mm.
And so and then from that, since I've sold solar before, actually, I was able to take that and sell our own house, right? And my partner basically, and then also take a $10,000 commission and then use that money to do some more renovations that my wife and I are doing, right? And so essentially I'm in at
Yeah.
zero, he's in at 40, right? Um, and then just because I guess I'm in at 10 because I got that commission and then put it in, right? So but total in the deal, if you minus my 10, like we're in it essentially 30 grand, right? 30-40 grand. And so
But none of
and
that
with
money is
the,
yours.
yeah, none of them mine, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's awesome.
yeah, I mean, and I paid myself with that, and then I used like an American Express Gold Business Card to using that $10,000 in renovations and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I'm essentially in at none, and then that property in the as far as like I mean they've been right so far, but in the winter we'll do 3 to 4 grand, and in the summers we'll do about 8. So just kind of
What's the mortgage on it, or what's your total
yeah.
monthly
So it's
expenses? What's the cash flow?
right. So we got it for 315. Like 6.5, almost 7% interest rate. It's a $1,900 payment. And sorry, what was your last question?
Oh, just what the cash flow was. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, your cash
Yes.
flow in the slow months, it sounds like around a thousand to $2,000, and
Yeah.
then in the high months, closer to like five plus $1,000
Yeah. Yeah. The year
in
it
good months.
should bring about 30, 40 grand profit, probably close to 40. So 40 grand profit,
Yeah.
which is our goal. And again, I don't think it's normal to do 100% cash on cash return, but like that's the goal, right? So
That's awesome, dude. Super cool. I mean, your cash on cash return out the gate is infinite, right? If you're into it, no money, and then your partners is really, really high, and
yeah,
that's like what we call a win-win scenario, which is so cool, dude. We could dive into just partner stuff, again and again and again. This is yeah, super good. I know we have you on the long form podcast as well. People have to check out. But what advice would you give somebody that's maybe they're getting started, maybe they have a handful of properties. Either way, they want to scale their portfolio, as fast as they can, build as much passive income as they can, just so they can have as much freedom as they can have. What advice would you give them based on this deal of how they could go replicate the same thing? Because it is out of the ordinary. Like it is an exceptional
yeah,
deal.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of perspective. If you think the deals aren't out there, like you're never going to find them. If you haven't done a deal in the last couple months, it's on you, right? Like there's so many people that want to get into it that have money, or if you have money, there's so many people like me that are just grinding, learning about this real estate or doing real estate investing school and just trying to learn everything they can. And they have a ton of value to add, you know, like I've had people turn me down because they're like, I just feel like you're not putting anything into it. So any monetary. So I don't, I don't feel like it's worth it. And I totally get that. Like I don't blame them at all. And like I encourage them, like, go do this yourself. Like you can do it. I believe in you. Like you can, go create this for you and your family. Right. But I would say, yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing is just have a humble mindset of continual growth, and that and let other people do some of the hard work for you. There's a lot of people out there that, they might not have a ton of money, but like they will grind for you to go and create those deals. So
Dude, this is awesome. So good, man. If people want to hit you up and ask you more about the deal or just connect with you, where's a good place to do that?
yeah, probably just Instagram, just Alex.Mashburn. That's probably the place I'll answer most of my DMs. So
Sweet, dude. You don't wait a couple months to respond?
no, no, I'm serious though. That really happened. I was like, how do I turn this into an Airbnb? Like, do I need some sort of like licensing? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And it's so frustrating. Right. And so that's why I'm so glad you created the school, is because, I was able to connect with people that did know, hop on a few calls with you, and like the value added from just 5 minutes um is so much more than like it would take me probably weeks on Dr. Google, who thinks he knows everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so it's just like the value from that is so, I think it's infinite. Like I probably have like a 2000% return on real estate investing school, just because, again, you don't know what you don't know. And so having to figure it out. That's why most people don't. That's why it's only like 1 or 2% of people actually own,
Yeah.
investment properties. So
Well, appreciate it, man. That's cool hearing you say that. And it's funny how, like, someone called me yesterday, just a student, and it was good timing. I was walking into the gym, so I answered. He was in the middle. He had 10 minutes before he needed to submit a deal. And he's like, "Oh, like, thank you so much for answering." And it just worked out perfectly. And then his coach is texting him back, and he's like, "Sweet. All right." Like, he's like, this alone, like, this conversation is like, it's
yeah,
worth so much money, because like there's a few things we just talked about for literally 2 minutes, and then his coach is texting him back saying like, "Hey, it's cool, let's get under contract and move forward with it, and then we'll jam on it some more." And that's all you need, and or like little tweaks here and there, and it literally is tens of thousands of dollars, or in the long term hundreds, and millions of dollars,
oh
really.
no, a lot more than that. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I think my perspective was like, I look at every deal as $1 million, like just the amount of taxes I'm going to save, the amount of appreciation, the cash flow over the next 30 years, right? Principal pay
yeah.
down, people paying. So it's like, if you look at it like that, I mean, go get 10 of those. Like every deal is $1 million.
Yeah,
So
dude, love that mentality, because it actually is
it
probably
is. Yeah.
probably true. Dude, I love it. Thanks so much for jumping on, dropping some bombs. Thanks for being dedicated to the program, and like actually diving in, learning, but then not stopping there, but actually like applying everything. That's gold stuff, dude. So I learned a ton. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Go connect with Alex, everybody.
I appreciate you. All right.